So as more and more information keeps coming out about this 4060 Ti and possibly 4060, it seems like we are getting another Turing style generation when it comes to every card except for the 4090. So if we take a trip down memory lane and we look at the 700 series cards, you have the 780 Ti. The 780 Ti was a really fast card, top of the line, most expensive, consumer-based card. The next generation, the 900 series, you got the 970. The 970 performed pretty much identical to the 780 Ti. It had a little bit more RAM, some would argue 1 gig, others would say half a gig. Then you have the 980 Ti and the following generation, which was Pascal. The 10 series, you had the 1070. The 1070 had an extra 2 gigs of RAM, but pretty much performed on par with the 980 Ti. Finally, we have the king of all kings to end the GTX nomenclature, the 1080 Ti, which to this day people are still using because it's such a good card in rasterization and just raw performance. But when Turing came out, there was nothing to really go up against that card. The only way you could actually break free of being last generation was to buy the 2080 Ti, and that thing was supposed to be $999, but if you checked out on launch day like I did, you spent $1,270+ on that card. During the launch event for the RTX 30 series, Jensen himself actually made a joke about how people on the 10 series or Pascal can finally retire their 1080 Ti and move up to the new 30 series. It was almost a return to form for Nvidia, and it seemed like they actually kind of cared about the consumer, which was rare. So finally, this brings us to the 3060 Ti. Yes, it only had 8 gigs of RAM, unlike its little sister, the 3060, but it was such a good value. For $400, you could get the $800 equivalent 2080 Super, and it was pretty much performing on par with it, or even faster in some instances. The 30 series was just such great value. So this brings us to the 40 series now. So Nvidia had a pretty good plan in place. They had to get rid of all the 30 series cards as soon as possible, and the only way to do that is by launching the one card that no one can buy. Yes, a lot of people did buy the RTX 4090, but it was way out of most people's price range. So people will wait, and they will wait for cards like the 4060, the 4060 Ti, and they will be expecting some kind of performance leap over the 30 series, like similar generations before it. But what we're gonna get is an RTX 3070. If you do the math, right now you have 22 teraflops of performance. Checking out Tech Power Up, if we scroll down and look at the FP32, you're going to see 20.31 teraflops or T-flops. So you're getting a single level bump up this generation for almost the exact same price as the 3070 when it came out. Yes, we know that there's inflation and prices of stuff have gone up everywhere, but to give you an idea of how much you can pay for a 3070 right now, it's pretty good. Granted, the prices have been going up since people have been finding the 40 series to be kind of bad value, but the average price in my local area of Boston, Massachusetts, is around $300 for a 3070. You can typically get them $350 to $325 depending on model, and at that price, and the fact that they both have the exact same amount of memory and type, I would just say to go for the 3070. So one thing I need to clarify too is that these are all leaks. This is not factual. There are certain leakers that have had really good track records. This guy specifically here is Red Gaming Tech. He's been doing it for a long time, and he claims that a 4060 Ti is on par with a 3080 in a leaked benchmark. We don't know if that's a single benchmark or a single game, so this is kind of hard to tell. But today's leak earlier, a Twitter post, which I'll link down below, pretty much showed the performance being on par with a 3070. So my best advice I could give to somebody trying to buy a card or looking for a card right now or upcoming would be to probably skip the 40 series altogether. If you're on the bleeding edge and you need the RTX 4090 or even the 4080, even though it's a bad deal, those are the two cards that are passing last generation's performance. Everything under that is still matching the 30 series in some way or another. Yes, some cards have more power draw, some cards have more RAM, but overall, if you're really looking for a mid-tier card, you're almost better off just finding a used RTX 3070 or something in line with your pricing. That's going to do it, guys. If you want to see a full build on this PC back here, I will link that down below as well. And if you like this video, like it, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.